Let's get into our first spoiler free movie review of the episode. I want to start first with Barbie. This was one of my top 10 most anticipated movies of the summer. I think the reason is because it's from one of my favorite directors right now, Greta Gerwig. And really, there are only a handful of directors that in their first few films know exactly what they want to say and how they want to say it, and are perfectly able to execute all the elements when it comes to just filmmaking at its finest. And Greta Gerwig is one of them. So I just knew that this was going to be a movie that we weren't expecting. And that's exactly what it is, because all I really knew going into this movie is that it's going to be about Barbie having an existential crisis, forcing her to leave Barbie world and go into the real world. And I am glad that is all I knew, because somehow this movie was nothing what I was expecting, but yet everything I wanted. And I want to start first with my theater experience going into Barbie, because there was so much promotion going into this movie, which I feel really added to the level of anticipation for me. And unlike any movie I've seen in the entire time I've been going to movies since I was a kid, I haven't really experienced anything like this before. The lobby was a sea of pink, and you could feel the electricity. Even myself and my wife, Kelsey, we got all dressed up. Like, I wore pink, this pink shirt I'm wearing now. I wore pink shoes. My wife wore her pink blazer. And I thought to myself as we were eating dinner before the movie, are we going to look like, losers going to watch this movie because we get so excited that we wanted to dress up? But almost everybody in the theater was dressed in some form of pink. And that just made it feel like much more of an event and like a bonding experience, one that I haven't experienced in all of my years of going to movies. Not in a Marvel movie, not in a DC movie, not in any legacy action movie. This was something truly unique. So I think aside from the movie, this is going to be a moment that we remember in cinema forever. I'm always going to remember the day I went to see Barbie. And this entire weekend, Barbie Oppenheimer weekend, is something we needed in film. And Barbie is what we needed right now. So I was all in and invested in this movie. And from the very beginning, this movie just grabbed me in a way that I wasn't expecting. And very few times now, when I go watch a movie, do I get fully immersed in every aspect of it and allow myself to just lose myself in the movie going experience. This was one of them. Once we were in Barbie world, I was fully transformed and living in that world, and I loved it because Greta Gerwig did such a great job nailing every single aspect, from the fashion, the music, the set design. This movie is going to win all the Oscars when it comes to set design and fashion. Like, that's just a given. I don't think that's me going out on a limb saying that. There's just so much attention to detail that is just mind blowing to me. And I experienced something in this movie that doesn't really happen to me very often, because I didn't get all the references to all the Barbies. And I had to look over to my wife, who was laughing at things that I didn't fully get because I didn't grow up playing with Barbies. But after watching this movie, I wish I would have. So I think there were things in this movie that were so much geared towards true Barbie fans who played with them as a kid. I felt like when we went to go watch the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I was laughing at some of the references to all these video games and looking over to my wife, and it wasn't really doing anything for her because she didn't grow up playing Super Mario like I did. The script was turned here, so aside from that, of not getting some of the references, this movie was really funny. It's very smart comedy, and I feel like it takes a little bit of time to get used to it and realize that the movie is in on the joke. And I think people just have different tastes when it comes to comedy. You listening to this now are going to find something funny that I probably don't find funny. So I think it's so hard to make a comedy right now that you don't really go into comedies anymore and just laugh like crazy. That doesn't happen anymore. And I really think that only happens when you're a teenager or a kid. So I think adults who have expectations of going to a movie and just laughing nonstop, like, that's not going to happen. You have to go see some stand-up comedy for that. What comedies have to do now is have a unique perspective and be so good at the writing and have actors who can deliver it effortlessly. And you almost have to be in on it a little bit. So this is a meta comedy. It's very aware of itself. So for those reasons, once you allow yourself to get into the style of it, you have to fully immerse yourself and want to be a part of it for it to be funny to you. But in our theater, people were laughing nonstop. And I think that also helped for me to find it more funny, because when you go see a comedy like this, and experience it with other people and hear what other people are laughing at, sometimes it heightens it a little bit. So if you wait to watch this movie streaming, you may think, what exactly is this? What did people see in this movie? You got to experience it with people. I think that is the same with comedies and also with horror movies. Sometimes you can watch a good horror movie at home and still be scared, but there's something about going to see a comedy and a horror movie in theaters that just adds to the experience and makes maybe things that aren't as funny a little bit more funny, makes things that are actually funny hilarious. So, same thing with horror, same thing with comedy. Go watch it in the theater and get the full experience. And I think the reason this movie was so important for me to see as a guy is it was a great commentary on what women have to go through and face every single day. The different things that apply to women that don't apply to men, the things men are able to get away with that women aren't, and all of the battles and things that women have to go through. There's such a great monologue from America Ferrera in this, one of the best monologues in the last 10 years, I would say. You don't really get monologues in movies anymore, but this one was so impactful that every single line in her monologue hit. It all made a really great statement. So, again, the writing in this was just excellent. So, I think that scene alone needs to win an award. And really, the movie is all about finding your purpose and questioning things around you, because Margot Robbie's Barbie lives in Barbie world where everything is just perfect every single day. That is what you see in the opening scene. She does the same thing over and over again, and nothing ever changes, because in this world of Barbie world, all of the issues that women have had to face have been solved. They are in the highest powers. You have a women president, a women Supreme Court, and it's the Kens, aka the dudes, just there serving the Barbies. And deep in the back of her mind, she just starts thinking about death and dread and all of these things that are the complete opposite of what a Barbie is supposed to feel. There is a line in this movie I related with so much. Barbie just saying, "You guys ever think about death?" Which just comes out of nowhere because she is such a bright and positive person, but yet she's struggling with the idea of death. And us as humans, I feel like sometimes we mask those things we are actually feeling. It's easier to just smile and fake it until you make it, but deep down inside, you could be feeling like the worst. And when she said that line and how everybody reacted, it's sometimes how I feel. Like sometimes I just have those dark thoughts that you don't know what is going on, and it's so easy to just kind of fake a smile and move on with your life, and that ends up being what forces Barbie to leave Barbie land and go figure out why this is happening to her. Which I have to say, I love the way the movie handled transitioning from Barbie world into the real world, and how you go from a place where everything is perfect and nothing ever bad happens, and then going into the real world and realizing, oh man, that's not how it is at all. And I think it's a true testament of how great of an actor Margot Robbie is. You think maybe playing Barbie is easy? It is not. You see the evolution of her character throughout this entire movie, and it's almost like what we all experience growing up as adults, how when you're a kid, everything is great and awesome, and then when you learn more about life, you just kind of get jaded a little bit more and more until life just kind of wears on you, and you see it on your face that you're a little bit more tired, you're a little bit more dejected. You see that evolution in Margot Robbie. So the way she was able to handle that and show that evolution throughout the entire movie was amazing. So it's on her, it's on Greta Gerwig. This movie to me felt like a mix of Life Size with Tyra Banks and The Truman Show, throwing in these very outrageous moments, but also these moments of gentleness and clarity. There are some very beautiful moments in this movie that allow you as the viewer to really feel what Barbie is experiencing and to see these emotions actually come out of her, because she hasn't really felt anything like this before. The other thing by the end of this movie I was really into was the music. And I always say, I probably said it earlier on this episode, how I'm not entirely into musicals, but the soundtrack on this was amazing. And also just all the singing moments really added to the big over the top nature of this entire movie, that I was singing "I Am Just a Ken" by the end of it. Other standouts from the cast, of course, you have Ryan Gosling as Ken, who you kind of forget or maybe don't really know how funny of an actor he is, because he normally does a lot of more serious roles, but every now and then you get a glimpse of him being funny. I thought he played that character incredibly well. But I have to say, aside from Margot Robbie, Kate McKinnon was my favorite as Weird Barbie. I feel like this was the role that she was meant to play, because she gets thrown into movies as, the quirky character, the off the wall character, and she did that so well on Saturday Night Live. But seeing her as Weird Barbie, you think everything she has done now completely makes sense. This is the character she was meant to be. So I'm glad they cast her as Weird Barbie. No one else could have done that role. So, like I said, I was fully immersed in the Barbie world. And by the end of the movie, I didn't want to leave it. So, not only did it meet every single one of my expectations, but it set the bar for movies for the rest of the year for me. I'm not going to soon forget this movie. So, for Barbie, I give it a rare perfect score. It is 5 out of 5 Barbie dream houses.